Friday. Friday's finally arrived, the most elusive day of the week in which we look forward to, so that way we can discuss all things going on with Mead Metal and MMA. Kevin with you this time around. Brandon's going to join us on a whole different kind of a level because, as we've talked about before, Brandon lives out in the outer wilds of Wyoming right now. So we have no Brandon. I'm with you right here in the hinterlands of eastern New Mexico, where apparently wintertime is trying to make a big return, which we didn't even have one. So it's kind of weird that we're getting fucked with weather right now that you'd usually get like in January, February. And that's the case being just me. And as I usually do, I usually lean on somebody because apparently I can't do anything in life by myself with the exception of taking a leak. It is our favorite roadie. It is Silke joining us again this time around. Hello. Okay, let me see if I can run up your microphone a little louder. Oh, that one's off, I bet. Hold on. Yeah, it is. I turned you off. I usually try to turn you on. Ooh, all right. Anyway, it's the Mead Metal and MMA podcast where we talk about our three favorite issues of the day, having to do with mead, having to do with metal, and having to do with MMA. How are you, my dear?
I am really good. How are you? The day before your birthday.
Yeah. Well, I'm not as drunk as I should be. But we'll work on that coming up.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, and you get the thing because people say, "Well, so how's it feel to turn another year older?" And well, if you ask, I'm going to let you know. I was asked that by our friend Carla earlier here a couple hours ago, and I said, "Well, after all, it is pretty much the slow and steady decline to see one's body give way and decay until we're eventually into the ground." So there you go. So that's my take on birthdays.
Oh my gosh, that is so depressing.
Well, that's my take. That's my take. So anyway, when you say, "So how's the big day?" I'll give them that. I'll give them that.
Nobody's gonna ever ask you again.
Eventually, I'll make a fine skeleton. That's but nonetheless, Mead Metal and MMA. How's your week?
My week was excellent. How about yours? I heard it was a little stressful.
My week was bullshit. That's what that was.
It's Friday.
It's a fucking whiskey.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I have an easy job. I'm not going to say I don't. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it'd be cool to get paid to talk for a living." Technically, I don't. I get paid to work my ass off and then kind of put a product out where I'm talking. I know, which sounds like bullshit to the average listener, and you're probably right. But most of the time, it's pretty easy. It's not that hard of a gig. This week was not that week. Last week wasn't that week. It's been a fucked up 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think and next week's going to be fucked. So you're saying, "Whoa." So do you like move into like being a steel worker or something like that? No, because it's probably get easy the week after that. Like last week of April, I think we'll start getting a little bit easier, a little light at the end of the tunnel, as long as it's not a fucking oncoming train. But it's been fine. It's just a lot of production work and stuff like that. It's just shit that'll wear you out, you know.
Yeah,
so,
and
deadlines, paperwork. All the stuff I don't hold down a regular job for. So
right.
That's what it is.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and get in the mead portion of the podcast because we have to turn it over to Brandon here pretty soon to talk about MMA. Okay, mead side. I know we've talked. See, there it is. The furnace just kicked on. There is. Hey, happy April 13th, everybody. In eastern New Mexico was running your air conditioner yesterday because it was fucking 90 degrees yesterday, and it's like 43 right now. Oh, this is so much bullshit. All right. See, I would be good for a Mars mission or a moon settlement, maybe. Like, well, you know, we have daytime highs in the hundreds and overnight lows in the 30s. I'm from eastern New Mexico. We're good. I can handle it.
Yeah. Yes, you can.
All right. Meat update. We have long ships. I don't think I cooked with any of that this week, I will say. However, I do have eyeballs on a couple of other past batches. We do have Green Man, but we're down like 2 bottles of that left. And one guy, Mike, actually, we're waiting to find out. He's like, "Well, maybe I'll pick up one after you guys do a batch this year." Pick it up now. It's only $20. Buy a bottle right now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I am looking to actually move this this particular broadcast we have, or podcast we have ahead, because I'm going to go ahead. I'm looking at dumping about a couple $100 into a kind of a rudimentary camera system. So when Brandon gets back from Wyoming, then we can make it a visual podcast, in which case then I got to start wearing clothes. But anyway, we'll probably, I think that's probably the next big thing. Granted, our Mead sales are for music gear usually, but it's also for stuff going on with this particular podcast to keep really keep building on what we have already in place. So we'll keep doing that. The update on Troublemaker, Silke and I are going to be moving a batch tomorrow. We're going to move from the carboy that thing's been sitting entombed in for months. We're going to be moving that over to another carboy, and hopefully it's clarified and all things will be good. And we'll see what happens with that. It'd be nice to be able to get that one ready to bottle by the time that Brandon gets back here in about a month. So
yeah, we keep saying we're going to do it, and we really need to do it. So tomorrow's the day.
You bust my balls saying I'm not going to sit down. All right. Holy crap, that's all right. I might have needed to buy a bigger bottle of Bullet Rye. Maybe. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Russian Mule. Is it?
Moscow Mule?
Moscow Mule. That's what it is. It's very good.
The thing about a Moscow Mule, it has nothing to do with Putin. So
nope.
that we know of.
Nope. That's right.
It's what, ginger beer, vodka, and lime.
And lime. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good summer drink. I mean, it doesn't feel like summer
right
now,
but it's like winter outside.
Yep.
I feel like we need to start doing some mulled wine again.
Nothing is holding me back.
Yeah. All right, on to the metal side. Now, here's the problem. Here's where things get a little bit disappointing in the podcast for you. We have a couple of releases, but nothing of any consequence. So the first one is Frequency Drift, Letters Tomorrow. It's a German band, very progressive stuff, to the point where it's not even metal. But it's certainly prog rock to some degree, but it's really orchestral at the same time. So it kind of, a lot of the prog rock people are like, oh, well, at least everybody's playing an instrument, blah, 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 blah. This stuff it's kind of like that, but yet with a lot of weird synth stuff. It's not bad. Having said all that, it's not bad. Frequency Drift, you might want to check them out. Bayreuth, Germany. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Bayreuth.
There we go. Well, I fucked that up. So unsurprisingly, by the way. And where's that at?
I believe it is close to Austria.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a very pretty area.
A bunch of weird fucking people come out of Austria. All right.
Oh, no, they're not.
Well, okay. Some weird people come out of Austria. All right.
Well, they're everywhere.
Derek Smalls. Does that name mean anything to you?
Nope. Never heard of it.
All right. Well, you obviously never watched Spinal Tap.
Nope.
All right. Derek Smalls, the fictional bass player on This Is Spinal Tap, put out a record of it's called Smalls Change Meditations on Aging, and it is listed as comedy rock. If you're looking for a laugh, well, that shit might be for you. Check that out. Another band out has a release this week. It's the band's title is Wrong. The album title is Feel Great. It reminds me of punk from back in like the mid 80s. There's nothing rock about it except for the fact that it's nostalgia from the mid 80s punk movement. It sounds like fucking like Black Flag or Husker Du or any number of bands from that particular era.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. Wrong and Feel Great. Stone Broken has one out today, and you might say, who's that? I would say that's apparently Nickelback operating under another name. Stone Broken, Ain't Always Easy is the name of the album. I played like 4 tracks off of it just to make sure I wasn't hearing some weird shit. It's Nickelback rock.
That's interesting.
Which is good. Which is good if you're a lady with a minivan and children that play soccer.
Oh.
If you're a dude, it's Nickelback kind of stuff. So
yeah.
there you go.
Not so much.
No, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Music it heals the soul of those that require it. But by genre, well, there you go. That's the breakdown. There's nothing worth listening to this week. I usually like highlight in red, like what to listen to, my pick for the week. I ain't got nothing, folks. So do with your time as you will, and check all of that out. Okay. So you might be saying, all right, so you're not doing a podcast with Brandon this time around, obviously still in Wyoming, and that's accurate. We're hanging out, doing our normal thing here at the Mead Hall in eastern New Mexico, because the internet is a funny thing.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes we have internet here, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. We do have it when it counts, though, so that's good, since we are the ones who have it.
Well, that's exactly right. And what you're pointing to is the fact that Brandon is kind of on weird intermittent internet access in the outer wilds of Wyoming. And that's why I call it that, because the only people who call anything the outer wilds of anything is Mongolia. Well, Wyoming is our Mongolia.
Yeah.
There are some areas of lakes. There's a lot of mountains. There's a lot of open prairie. That's our Mongolia. So that's where Brandon is at, hanging out in his yurt, and well, probably not that far, but anyway, but still, his internet is a little bit limited, so we weren't able to interact with him tonight as much as we would like. So, having said that, the MMA portion of the podcast, I'm going to turn it over to him and have him plug in his production part of it. So, those of you that generally look forward to what we have to talk about and everything else. Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Brandon's going to be handling his side of it, because it's just the internet's too dicey tonight. We're going to get back to normal, presumably, from what I understand, here in the next 3-4 weeks. We'll be back to doing things right around the weird table at the Mead Hall, and we'll actually get visual at some point. And have some cameras involved. And
ooh, that will be so much fun. People can put a face to the voices. And
oh, that sounds terrible.
No, it sounds
for
great.
Me. I'll just wear a Jason mask the whole time.
No.
But nonetheless, though, that's probably one of the things we're looking to do in the not so distant future, is to probably go ahead and get that back to, get it into the world of doing like all other podcasts you enjoy, where you can have a visual element, crank it up on your TV as you're working out or whatever you're doing. Jazzercise. You chicks still do that?
Yes, at home in the living room. Yep, we sure do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you speaking for all ladies in humanity. So
well, we lie too.
But yeah, we're going to get to a visual side of the entire podcast eventually, and we're looking at probably getting that done by about the middle of May, maybe end of May. It just depends on the finances of it, because it's not cheap. It's not overly expensive, but it's certainly not inexpensive. So
I think that is a great idea. People can actually see how cool the meat bottles look, and
yeah,
they can be witness to how much you actually drink during the the podcast.
I don't know if I need that information as public as you might think, but anyway, last weekend UFC 223 was that the event? The Brandon, like I said, is going to fill us in on his thoughts on that. I will say this. I'm going to talk about the two main fights on the card. Brandon will talk about it as well, and that's fine. I'm not trying to overstep bounds here by any means. He's going to probably go over the full card, or at least most of it, or at least the interesting things that were there, because it was a really, really interesting card. The early bouts, there were a couple of them that were pretty goddamn great. I'm not going to steal his fire. I'll let him talk about those. I only want to talk about the main two. The co-main and the main event. You're a fan of who?
Rose.
Come on, it's a German name.
No, it's not.
Nama Yunus.
Nama Yunus. Yes, I am. That's my gal.
Yeah, Rose Nama Yunus defended her belt against Joanna Jędrzejczyk from Poland.
Little controversy there.
Not terribly. The three judges, and this fight took place in Brooklyn, New York. The three judges scored at 49-46 49-46 and 49-46. So they gave Joanna 1 round.
Right.
1 round. Joanna outstruck Rose something crazy. It was something crazy like 170-something to 120-something. Or maybe less than that. And I'm just pulling something out of my ass here, but I know it was a big rift. Well, here's the thing, though, is that and Joanna thought that she'd won the fight based on volume. Well, if you're a volume fighter, Sage Northcutt should be your welterweight champ right now. Because if you're just throwing to connect and hoping that the judges will go, well, okay, that ain't bad.
Right.
She connected this many times. Here's the problem. Rose Namajunas, every shot she landed. Was a big shot.
Right.
It was a big shot. So it's hard for me to look, and I'm a fan. I like Joanna. I do, or well, I did. I'm starting to get a little bit less impressed the more time that goes by. That she keeps calling it her belt. It's like, hey, bitch, that thing's not your belt anymore. You lost it back in November. Rose Namajunas is going to hold that for a long time, I think.
I think so, too.
She's a tough chick. She's only 29. She's in the peak of her fighting career. She's
on the uprise, yeah.
She's going to hold that for a little while. Now, Joanna's only 1 year older than she is. But Joanna's had a long fighting life. I mean, she's had so many kickboxing championships and shit like that. It's crazy. I don't know. Rose is not as marketable. I don't know why Joanna is more marketable. I guess because she's annoying, or she likes to yell and scream and shit like that when they march the fighters out there, or at the weight day and thing. Media day, she always dominates. And the last time around, she said, "Well, I'm the boogie woman" or something like that. Well, then Rose knocked her ass out, and this next time around, it goes the full 5 rounds, and Rose won 4 of the 5. It was a good fight. It was probably, I would probably go out on a limb and say it was probably the best women's strawweight fight that has ever happened in the history of the UFC.
I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I really am. And Rose, she really is not, I don't know if she just doesn't like to be in the spotlight, but, I follow her on Twitter and I hardly ever hear anything. I mean, she's just not, she just does her thing. She likes to concentrate.
Well, now, fans of Joanna would say, no, she does talk a lot of mad shit, because Joanna at the post-fight interview, or not Joanna, but Rose at the post-fight interview said, well, and what can I say? I'm just better. It's like, well, wait a minute. She's right, but hey, you can't say that.
Well, she was at that time, and at the same time, though, if she would have lost, she would have said the same thing about, the other one was better.
Yeah,
she just,
I don't know.
I think so. She's just straight and to the point, and
all right. Well, so the last, and I don't, like I said, I'm only going to talk about the 2 top ones. Brandon will issue his own thoughts on that. But you had Khabib Nurmagomedov fighting Al Iaquinta. Khabib was going to win this fight no matter what. They bring in Al Iaquinta like 48 hours advance notice because Al lives in Long Island and apparently was, training. Apparently, I don't know. Khabib wins that fight overwhelming, 50-44, 50-43, 50-43. And it's fine. And he's now the lightweight belt holder. Well, the problem is, so they're going to have to figure out a way to bring in Conor McGregor on this thing. That's what they're doing. I know the UFC, what they're doing is so Khabib Nurmagomedov, he now has the lightweight title. They're not giving him a lightweight title to defend against some other assholes in the lightweight division. It's purely to bring Conor to the table. Now, Conor might go to fucking jail for a couple of months, but that's okay, because Khabib's not going to be ready to fight again until November, in which case, or maybe September, October, November, something like that. But this guy's injured all the time. This guy might very well be another Cain Velasquez, and then they're going to sit around for like a year and a half, 2 years, waiting for him to be able to defend his title, and he's not going to be able to do so. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I do know that after watching that fight, that Khabib's got a bunch of holes in his stand-up game. And a lot of people said, no, this guy's the best fighter we've ever seen. Yes, absolutely, because of the fact that he can do some crazy takedowns. And once he gets you on the ground, good luck getting the fuck back up. But we did see Al Iaquinta was able to throw throw some really good hooks and actually and throw the occasional jab to kind of keep Nurmagomedov at a distance. I don't think that it is really out of the realm of possibility that somebody like Conor McGregor, who's got a devastating left hook, might not be able to dispatch this cocksucker in one round. Is that possible? It's possible, yes. Is it likely? I don't know. If Khabib gets his hands on Conor, that fight is over. That fight's over before it even gets to the ground. But we'll see. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It was a great card, considering there were a whopping 9 fights on the whole thing. But anyway, go back and watch that one if you have the means to do so. Other than that, what I'm going to do is get to celebrating my birthday, get that shit on, and turn it over to Brandon for his thoughts on the MMA side of the Mead Metal and MMA podcast. In the meantime, I have no music picks this week. They're not great. I'm just going old school and like listening to like Ozzy at this point. No More Tears was kind of what we walked you in with, and that's kind of what we'll walk you out with, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe that'd be kind of a weird thing to do for send it over to Brandon. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll go and walk it out. It's Ozzy Osbourne, and No More Tears, just because we can. That's why this week didn't turn out being what we wanted it to be, but hopefully your week is whatever you want it to be, and we'll catch up with you again next week as we do it again. Mead Metal and MMA podcast. Over to our brother from another mother. We do that still? That's kind of lame, isn't it?
No, it's not. I think.
Over to that asshole Brandon, who who always keeps us in the loop for the MMA side of it and other thoughts.
That's right.
It is how's your week, maybe. Maybe we can get a little bit of that out of him as well. Catch up with you again next week, friends. Mead Metal and MMA podcast. Any party thoughts, my love?
I'll have a good week.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Exemplified. All right. Out of here. Off to celebrate birthday and No More Tears.
What's going on, you guys? Your friendly neighborhood Wyoming hermit here, Brandon, also known as Brogastraw, here with a lackluster internet connection, which is why we had to do the first part of the show like we did. I'm sure Kevin has explained that to everyone. I am here to cover the MMA aspect of what's been going on in the realm over the last 7 days since we last talked. And not as active as last week. It's no Conor McGregor ridiculousness going on here. Maybe to the chagrin of some, but I have to admit, I'm pretty happy that I shut down my fandom for the man on December 31st of last year. And for good reason, because I don't think we're going to see him fight in the octagon or anywhere for a very long, long time. Probably going to be more a fight in the courtroom and with lawsuits. But nonetheless, we are here for a very good reason. And that is the arts of MMA. Just really quick, like talk about what happened last week. Of course, we had UFC 223. And you know, it was an okay card. There was one fight that stood out among all of them, outside of the Sharapov fight, and because that was probably it was going to be fight of the night, and I know it got $50,000 for being fight of the night, but in my opinion, the fight of the night was the women's strawweight title fight between Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Of course, she did go into this fight spouting just how much of basically a fluke that last win was. But first round knockout, yeah. Big fluke when you exploit a weakness in another fighter and you take advantage of it. That's what they call a fluke in the business. Rose came out and did what she always does. She picked her apart. I know the argument's been made that Joanna landed more shots. Most of those shots were leg kicks. And leg kicks are not going to win you fights. They're going to help you to defeat an opponent if you can finish that opponent. I think, last count, it was between, 30 leg kicks. At least 30 leg kicks she landed on Rose. And they were starting to pile up. Not to mention, Rose did seem to gas there in the third and fourth round. But the fact of the matter is, Rose was landing more quality shots. That was evident in Joanna's face. I don't know if anyone watched the post-fight press conference. She looked like she had been in a 30-minute war. Like a 6-round fight, that face was looking. Rose wore some pretty good damage as well, but nothing compared to what Joanna was wearing. I had it 3 rounds to 2. I gave Rose the first 2 in the 5th round. I felt like that 5th round was going to decide it. But the judges did not, and Brooklyn gave her 49-46 across the board. But a hearty congratulations to Thug Rose. And also a congratulations to Milady Fair, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who defeated Felice Herrig in a very close fight. Far closer than I thought it was going to be. I still have the images of her last fight at flyweight in my mind. Felice Herrig did put up a hell of a fight. Split decision. Great fight. Aubin Mercier getting his first win on American soil, especially in the first round. That knee just crippled Evan Dunham. And I guess we can talk about the main event. Wasn't really that big an event. I had hopes. I know Kevin had hopes of Ally Quinna maybe pulling off the biggest upset since Bisping took out Luke Rockhold. Was not the case. Judges saw it 50-44, 50-43 twice. Pretty embarrassing outcome for Ally Quinna, but he took the fight on 24 hours notice. Not surprising. Khabib's your champion. Big fucking deal. And that was pretty much UFC 223 in a nutshell. No squad of Irish gangsters coming in to ruin things. Which, man, they had a big... Conor had such a big opportunity to return in a huge way for this. But cocaine's a hell of a drug. And that certainly took hold. It's kind of a bummer. I mean, even though I'm no longer a fan of his, I just can't be. I can't be a fan of a fighter that doesn't fight. It would have been nice to see him at least come back and get a fight announced. Get that Khabib-Conor fight. Get it booked. Sadly, I think we're going to be waiting even longer now. Nonetheless, looking at what's going on for this weekend, of course, there's a Bellator card happening, I think, right about now, Bellator 197. Of course, we rarely talk about Bellator here, so I'm not going to break tradition by beginning that now. We do have a pretty decent card coming up tomorrow. UFC on Fox 29. Now, this is on Fox, folks, so this is going to get an early start and an early finish. This shit should wrap up by 8 o'clock. Prelims look pretty solid. The main card actually looks pretty good, and the UFC is known to put on decent fight cards when they're on network TV. They have to. I mean, hell, you get to watch UFC for free, and what's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. You got Gilbert Burns rounding out your Fight Pass prelims, which have 6 fights. 6 fights on a UFC Fight Pass prelim. Wow, that is amazing. You got Yushin Okami taking on Diego Lima. Should be pretty good. And when we move over to the prelims, which will be on Fox, you got Christoph Jocko fighting Brad Tavares. Shouldn't be a bad fight. Wilson Reyes fighting John Moraga. I guess fighting for the opportunity to get beat by Mighty Mouse again. And it's going to round out at middleweight Tim Boetsch fighting Antonio Carlos Jr. I do enjoy me some Tim Boetsch. Certainly on the end of his fight career, for sure. Matter of fact, I think it was 5 years yesterday when he had his big comeback victory that Joe Rogan basically just lost his fucking mind on. Should be a lot of fun. But let's get to the main card. And on your main card, women's strawweight, you got Michelle Waterson fighting Courtney Casey. Now, Michelle Waterson, we know, the karate hottie, kind of had a bad run of it as of late. She dropped one to Rose, who's now your strawweight champion, and dropped one to Tisha Torres. She was on a tear until she met Rose. And now she looks to be fighting. I mean, 3 losses in a row is not going to do you any favors, unless your name is Johnny Hendricks. Not really familiar with Casey. She is the favorite going into this fight. Waterson, a slight underdog. She's not going to make any money with a win, but she needs to get this one. She needs a victory, and she needs it bad. UFC, it's getting to be right around spring cleaning time, and anyone with 3 losses in a row, their name's going to be on that list of consideration. I like Waterson in this. I have to, because I really want to see her get a win. Looks like she just got her purple belt in BJJ. That's great. But bottom line is she needs a win. She needs a big win. And here's hoping she gets it against Courtney Casey Sanchez. Forgot the hyphen. So there's your opener. Moving on to the second of the 4 fights on the main card. You got Marvin Vettori fighting undefeated Israel Adesanya. I'm probably butchering that last name. He is undefeated. Kickboxing Narkiller. Has a nickname of the Last Style Bender. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not bad. This one, again, these are 2 guys. I think Adesanya just had his debut in the UFC a couple months ago. It's tough for me to pick against undefeated fighters. Yeah, I just can't find myself to do it. I know eventually I'll be wrong. Ronda Rousey sure proved that. I like Israel in this fight. He's a pretty huge favorite, minus 275. I'd say be looking for a shin to the dome to shut this one down. Some pretty record time. Moving on to your co-main event of the main card. Now I'm looking forward to this one for a couple reasons. It's Carlos Condit taking on Alex Oliveira. Carlos Condit, probably the most successful fighter to come out of New Mexico, and my favorite. I remember watching Carlos Condit when he fought in the WEC. He was a stone cold killer there. It just seems like, gosh, I think he's lost 4 of his last 5, which is depressing. Very depressing. He used to have this killer instinct that he doesn't seem to have it anymore. I don't think his heart is in the fight game anymore. I think he's doing this to fulfill a fight contract. I don't see him extending it. As a matter of fact, depending on how this fight goes, if he gets dominated again, we might be saying goodbye to the natural born killer. Now, he will be fighting Alex Oliveira, who is a huge favorite in this fight, minus 200. We remember, of course, the Cowboy fight. I know Alex Oliveira is not a huge, I guess you want to say draw, and Kevin's certainly not a big fan of his either, and for good reason. He did lose to Yancy Medeiros recently. You have to excuse me. I know how to talk. I just have popcorn in my mouth. It's a good match. I know. I think Matt Brown was supposed to fight Carlos Condit at this, but blew that ACL, which seems to be a big problem in UFC lately. See Tony Ferguson. this fight's going to go one of two ways. I don't see Condit getting a finish. I can see Condit grinding out a 3-round victory here. 3-round decision victory. I just have a bad feeling that Alex Oliveira is going to blast him and put him down. That chin is no longer there anymore. And once you lose the chin and the heart and the will to do this, it's tough to even get out there, let alone get a win. Condit was getting ready for a guy who was just going to come at him and brawl. Alex Oliveira can do that, but he can also do a couple more things that Matt Brown can't do, primarily on the ground. It's almost a lose-lose situation for Carlos Condit. I want to see him win. I'm not picking him to win, though. I think Alex Oliveira is going to take this one. I think he's going to get a finish. And I do believe we're going to be saying goodbye to the natural-born killer, much to my sadness and dismay. But then again, hey, I've been wrong many times. So why listen to me? Which, of course, leads us to the main event of the evening. Dustin Poirier taking on Justin Gaethje in your main event. This is going to be a great fight. I don't see it going past 3. If this thing hits 4th round, I would be shocked. Of course, Dustin Poirier, probably most memorable for getting beat by Conor McGregor during Conor McGregor's rise to the top. Of course, that was when Poirier was fighting 145. Now he's bumped up 10 pounds to lightweight. It's troubling because Justin Gaethje does have this fighting style where he just doesn't give a fuck. I got to see his debut against Michael Johnson during International Fight Week last year. Fight of the year. No doubt, fight of the year. Which he ended up winning. Of course, he wore a lot of good damage in that fight, too. If Michael Johnson had a couple more, if he could have lasted a couple more minutes, that would have been it. You would have said goodbye to that undefeated streak and goodbye to this up-and-coming UFC debut. It would have been over. But he landed Michael Johnson pretty proper and began this rise. I mean, people were already picking this guy to be lightweight champ in a division that is ridiculously stacked. This was also the time when Conor McGregor was still... Well, this was I think this was during the build for the Mayweather fight, so no one saw him return to the octagon anytime soon, but still a time when Conor McGregor was your champ. His fight style is going to end up being his undoing. You can prepare for it. He's not going to change it. He's gone on record saying he's not going to change it. This is what he's going to do. And I think Poirier knows that. If anyone recalls the fight with Eddie Alvarez, Gaethje got beat up for that whole fight. He landed some pretty good shots on Alvarez, but man, he wore way too much. I've always been a proponent of, if you got to wear a shot, but be sure you can give something back tenfold. He wasn't able to do it with Eddie Alvarez. I don't think he's going to be able to do it with Dustin Poirier. I like Dustin Poirier in this fight. I want to see Justin Gaethje win it because I'm just seeing him fight in person made me a fan, especially in the way he got it done. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be damn tough. I hope he's modified his style a little bit. He doesn't have to change too much up. He's just got to be able to protect himself a little better. No more of this throwing caution to the wind bullshit. I like Poirier. I like Poirier in the third. Man, I'm hoping for Justin Gaethje to get the job done here. And that is your UFC on Fox 29 card. Again, main card looks pretty solid. probably going to start around 2 o'clock Mountain Time, so be sure to get started early on this one. If you show up at 4:30, you're going to probably miss 4 of the fights on Fight Pass prelims. Yeah, this has been really weird. I feel like I'm talking to myself on this aspect. I'm used to having Kevin here bouncing off my thoughts, but Wyoming Internet certainly saw we weren't going to be able to get that done today. So yes, this has been the final portion of the Mead Metal MMA podcast. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up as I got some Japanese food to be eating here shortly. Many thanks, friends. Again, happy birthday to Kevin. Hope you rock it, my friend. I'm sure you will. If you treat it like any other weekend, I know you're going to rock it just fine. And enjoy the fights tomorrow, gang. Look forward to hopefully having a bit more of a normal podcast next Friday. And hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll get to the absolute normal, if you smell what I'm cooking. Alrighty, friends. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the fights. Enjoy yourselves. You know, life is short. I'm going to go eat some noodles. Listen to a man play a piano for change. Sounds like a pretty typical Friday night in Wyoming. Have a good night. Battle on. We'll see you next Friday.